What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the channel. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that have been here before, welcome back. So I think today is going to be a YouTube first. Maybe not a first on all of YouTube, but definitely going to be a first here. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the old Choose Your Own Adventure books, where you would be reading through the book and you'd get to a point and say, do you want to do A, B, or C? And you'd pick one of those, it'd lead you to a different part of the book, and you essentially chose your own adventure and you customized the book based on what your interests were. So today is going to be the same thing on this vlog. You're going to choose your own adventure based on why you're here and what your interests are. So this is how it's going to work. You have three options for the choose your own adventure. If you're interested in choosing the repair of the home automation switch that I have, it's kind of a do-it-yourself home automation, you're going to want to jump to the time listed here, and that is going to get into the nitty-gritty of what I have to do in terms of either fixing what I have or replacing what I have, and that's going to get into that portion. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about this leg pain, and I think very few of you are going to choose this option, but I've been running a lot and I'm now having this issue, which I think is a sural nerve. I'm not sure. I'm going to the doctor here shortly, but you're going to want to click on the link here, and that is going to take you to the Choose Your Own Adventure for the mysterious leg pain. And then the last option we have is not issues I'm having with my drone, but I'm not overly satisfied with my drone situation. And I'll get into that here shortly, but if you want to choose your own adventure for the drone, you're going to want to click here. And now we'll see where all this leads. In my mind, this feels like such a cool concept, but it could be a complete bust. I don't know how I'm going to tie this all together. I absolutely know, especially with the drone scenario, this is going to go over the course of a couple days. So stick with me. Let's see how this plays out. And please let me know what you think. All right, let's get into it. Didn't I say let's get into it already? I think I did. So let the home automation repair begin. So you lovely people have chosen the Smart Home Do-It-Yourself Repair or Replacement Adventure. So we're headed to Lowe's to look at some new switches, but I thought I'd give you some background on what my smart home looks like, what I've done, and I'm going to talk you through it now, but I'll show you some of the stuff when I get back to the house. So I've replaced a number of my switches in the house, and I started with the Belkin Wemo, which I really was happy with when they first came out. They work really well. They talk to my Z-Wave hub, which is great. And I have several of those in the house, but I've since moved to the GE Z-Wave because I found those work better. They're not buttons, they're actual, they click up and down, which I like, so you can physically feel like you're turning a light switch on and off, which most people are accustomed to. And Lindsay doesn't like all the home automation stuff, so she wants to be able to turn the light switches on as she normally would. She's not going to go to an app or a phone to do it. So I really like those Z-Wave switches. They're a little bit trickier to install, but they're great. So we're going to go in and check one of those out to replace the back porch Wemo switch that's been stuck and doesn't work. Outside of the switches, I have a SmartThings hub by Samsung, which controls all the devices. They all link into that. I've moved over a little bit to the Apple HomeKit through my Apple TVs, but Apple's so restrictive, not all the devices I'd want are compatible with HomeKit. So I'm still primarily using Smart Home, or my SmartThings device. And then I have Philips Hue light bulbs that run through the house. I have some of the outlet plugs that I can plug lamps into and things like that. I replaced my entire front door lock with a Yale touchscreen lock, which I love because The thing I love about the Yale lock is my kids can walk up to it, they tap it, all the numbers light up, they put in their code, and they can get into the house. They don't need keys. It has an option for a key, but they don't need keys. And when we have people come over that need to let the dogs out or do something to get into our house, I can assign them a certain code. I can open it remotely from my phone. It's just phenomenal. And then outside of that, I think that's it. We have Nest, so we have the smoke alarms and the drop cams and things like that, but that's it. But why we're here at Lowe's right now is to try to find this GE Z-Wave switch. So let's go check it out. There we go. So this is the one wall. Oh, that one's open. I don't want opened. So this is the smart controller. Well, almost. No, that's a fan. I don't want a fan. I want a smart dimmer. This one seems to be open, which I'm not crazy about. We're in luck, they had it. So I was nervous. The one I originally pulled up, they didn't have. And it was because it was a dimmer switch. And this is replacing the back porch light. I don't need a dimmer switch for that. All I need for this is just an on-off switch that has Z-Wave, and this is it. The GE Smart Switch, no dimmer, perfect, we're good to go. So now it's time to get home and hopefully fix it. And if I can fix it, I'll return this thing. If I can't fix it, then we're gonna be replacing it. Stay tuned. All right, we're back from Lowe's and we're going to replace this Wemo light switch. I've tried to fix this thing, but it's just not working. So as you can see, it's a button. And that's really all it is. It's got a reset button underneath, a restart button, but this has been sticking. So when you go to hit it, you have to hit it 4 or 5 times for it to actually come on. And you can still control it from your device, but it's just not working great. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it. And I've started to replace some of these switches with this GE light switch because it's an actual up and down switch, as you can see. And it works on Z-Wave, which is great. The only thing I don't like about these are they're not compatible with Apple's HomeKit. So I have to use everything through SmartThings, which is all right. It's not the end of the world. I primarily use SmartThings. I've only started moving over to Apple HomeKit as it's still growing. So we're gonna get this thing out of here, replace it with this, and I figured, why not show you guys how I do it? This has a plate on the front of it that just pops off. I've already turned off the electricity to the outlet, but I'd always recommend you test with this. All right, I think that's good frame-wise. We're gonna go ahead and remove this thing and replace it. So first gonna pull this out. And like I said, for the money, these things are great. I think these were about 30, 40 bucks. The GE light switch is about the same depending on what kind you get. If you get a standard switch, it's I think $37. If you get the dimmer switch, it's $45. And then they have secondary switches that you can use in the event you have like a two-way switch where multiple switches work the same light. So I'm by no means an electrician, but if the power is off, I'm not afraid to experiment with things. And the big trick to figuring out your electric is finding out which one is always hot. That's the one that's coming from the circuit breaker. The second one is kind of, if the light switch is on and off, or off, it has the power to send to the light. And then you have your neutral and your ground, which are self-explanatory. And just in case, Jackson's in the other room, so if I get electrocuted, he knows how to call 911. Right, Jack? He's sick. right, so in this box, we've got the instructions, which I'm not going to use. And then we've got the actual switch. And like I said, this switch I prefer because it is an actual switch. It has an on, off, so it's really easy to turn the light on and off without having to press a button. It's an actual switch. So let me get some things set up. I'll be right back. All right, now that this is out, I'm gonna go ahead and test which one's the line and which one's the load. The circuit breaker is back on. The line is the wire that's coming from the circuit breaker into the outlet. That's the one that's always hot. The load then carries the signal when the switch is on to the device. In this case, the light outside. So one of these is gonna beep. It's one of the black wires, one of them is not. This one is the load. This is the one that's going to the light outside. And this is the line. This is the one that's coming from the circuit breaker into the outlet. So I'm going to turn these off, and on the back of this you'll see there is a load, a line, a neutral, a traveler, which is used for three-way switches, and then a ground. So we're going to get this all connected. But again, this one on the far right is the line. So let me turn off the circuit breaker and we're going to connect this thing. All right, the power is back off. We're going to go ahead and connect this again. I'm going to put this wire into the line, and on here there's little holes where each of the wires go, and then you just screw them on. I'm not an electrician. I've done this from watching YouTube videos, so it's really not difficult as long as you turn the circuit breaker on and then identify which one's line, which one's load. The rest are self-explanatory. So this is going into line. That went in with no problem. Now I'm going to screw it in. After I screw each one down, I tug on it to make sure it's in there well. This one's going into load. That went in with no problem. Now neutral. No issues. That's in there. Now ground. And that's in there. And that's in there well. So let me turn off the circuit breaker. I'm gonna get this screwed in now that I know it works. Once it's all screwed in, I'm gonna turn back the power, let the Wi-Fi connect, and then we'll get this all set up. All right, now that this is installed, I'm trying to add this to SmartThings, and right now it's just kind of searching. So it says to hold this down, and the light just went off. So it should be looking for the device. Off. On. Up. GE wall switch found. There we go. So I'm going to rename this device back porch light. Hit done. And there it is. I'm going to save it. Now if I go to back porch light, I can hit off, and the light went off. I can hit on, and the light went on. There we go. We successfully added this to the home network, and I'll show you real quickly what the home network looks like. So we have this switch here. You're gonna have to forgive me, the lighting's gonna get terrible. We have these two Wemo switches here. This is a GE switch here. Oh, I take that back. That's not a GE switch. Just these two switches, and you can see just pressing those gets those working. We have, there's Jackson being sick. We have Hue light bulbs there, there, and there. And then coming into the basement, we have a GE light switch here, which is a dimmer version of it. And there, when I turn it down, you can see the network light there. We have Hue light switches over there. And that's it. That's everything. So hopefully you enjoyed the adventure you chose with the do-it-yourself light switches for home automation. Again, I apologize, this jumped around a little bit, but hopefully it worked, and now I'm majorly overexposed. But it worked, it's installed, the Wemo's out. If I were to start this from scratch, I would probably go with the GEs moving forward and forego the Wemos. The Wemos were great. They were the first ones to come out with something, and that's a Belkin model. Now that GE has these, it's Z-Wave, it's great. It's relatively easy, so thanks for checking it out. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. See ya.